bayan ng Maguindanao. Kudarat. Yung fabricated cases, tama na yan, Toto. Kawawa naman yung mga babae. Huwag mo ipaamak yung asawa nyo. Maawa ka kay Sharifa. Sharifa, kung ako'y narinig mo, pinuri kang parang anak ng lalawigan ng Sultan Kudarat. Minahal ka ng taga-Sultan Kudarat. Gumising ka sa katotohanan kung saan ka nagmula. Lumingon ka kung saan ka nanggaling. Yung sinasabi mong pagbabago. Anong nagbago? Yung postura mo, tama, nagbago ang iyong postura. Dahil binago ka ng lalawigan ng Sultan Kudarat. Binihisan ka ng lalawigan ng Sultan Kudarat. Huwag ka sanang magpapagamit. Kaming lahat ay naaawa sa iyo. Sana hindi ikaw ang maging huling asawa ni Toto. Mula na iyong binanggit na sana ikaw ay maging huli, how I wish and how I pray na sana ikaw ay maging huli. But anyway,
born and raised in Libak, Sultan Kudarat with two sturdy women, my mother and my grandmother. I never had a chance to know my father that well. After he married my mother here in the Philippines, he got back to Qatar. Never heard from him until 2015 of the sad news that he passed away. We were poor back then. I and my grandmother lived in a slanted house. My grandmother bought it for only 750 pesos. Our house looked like a chicken coop. You know, I would describe it as a house best suited for chickens because, you know, it has so many holes and it's very dilapidated. From an early age, I knew what it meant to work hard. I knew what it was like to be deprived of the things that other kids enjoy. I could have chosen to play and be a kid most of the time, but I choose to help the woman who raised me. At 7, I knew how to make liniments and oils out of a coconut so that I could sell them around the neighborhood. I also used to sell and weave nipa, or go to mud flats, harvest shells, collect leftover palay, and take them back home. I even tried harvesting corn and get paid for only 5 pesos per sack. You know, when I look back on those days, I have nothing but gratefulness for all the life lessons that I had during a tender age. My mother had to go overseas as a domestic helper, and I was raised solely by my grandmother. But my mother's salary wasn't good enough to cover our needs. 15 years ago, she only earned 6,000 pesos, and most of that is sent back here in order for me to continue my high school education. But still, it wasn't enough. So I had to work hard and still engage with the trades that I used to do as a kid. So I sold vegetables grown in our backyard and still scour the mud flats and the mangroves for shells. After high school, my mother couldn't longer afford to send me to college, but I persisted. I know fully well that education is my ticket from a life of drudgery. I understood what my mother's felt at that time. She had no option and her choices were limited. She would have wanted me to follow her abroad and work as a domestic helper, but praise Allah, because I followed my heart, so a kind aunt helped me finish college. If you are familiar with Avon, Natasha, MSE, Boardwalk, they helped me go through that phase in my life because for that simple reason that my earnings from selling their products helped me fund my studies. For the first time in my life, I no longer had to endure worn down shoes. I no longer had to endure wet socks or wet feet because we cannot afford to buy a new pair. And for the first time in life, I no longer had to endure tight uniforms. So indeed, there's a will, there's a way. I could say that my life was a Cinderella story because out of that poverty, a polished and tough young woman who conquered the international pageant stage. Without the difficulties I faced and overcame on my younger days, I wouldn't be this confident woman that I am right now. Yes, I was hungry for success, not only to be better myself, but to meaningfully impart the story of journey to a lot of young people out there. Young people like you, future leaders. When there were no opportunities, I created them. That is how I dealt with life. I cannot be disheartened by failures, heartaches, or the limitations that my status in life has presented me. You go out there and you face the uncertain world with optimism head on. The world awaits your brilliance, your leadership, your courage, and of course, the stories that you would share. Like you, I have been a student leader too. I know the struggles and people expectations. I know the limitations set to you by the institution, but persist you must. I know my story is not unique. In fact, my story is exactly the same to the thousands or even millions of young people who had a dream. I know my story is similar to your stories of hardship and poverty, but we also have stories of small triumphs that happen daily. We also have stories of big successes. My fellow young people, I feel you because I have been there. I wish upon you, young leaders of today, to seize the moment and be the light amidst the darkness of this pandemic. Opportunity is knocking at your doorstep, on your computer screens, on your mobile devices. It is said that the future belongs to the youth, the new generation. I say this, the future would only belong to you if you take the moment and if you seize it. You may not realize it, but through your brilliance, your ideas, your faith, meaningful changes can happen to your communities. I am challenging you to be better than you were yesterday. Take action and invest in your greatness by challenging your fellow youth and leaders to be a part of something bigger, to make human society better each day. Good day and thank you.